you doing?
Have you got your seatbelt?
Yes, we have. Yeah.
All right, lads, we can't obviously be seen letting you go by. You can't sit on the back like that, mate.
All right.
Tell you what, jump in there, mate. Put your seatbelt on. All right, what you choose to do afterwards is your own choice. But as long as we see you drive off with your seatbelt,
all right,
fair enough.
Job, all right.
Yep, fair enough, mate.
Whatever you choose to do afterwards is entirely up to you. But obviously, we've got to let you know the risks.
Sure.
Okay, mate.
Not wearing a seatbelt, which is you're going to go flying and die. Political, mate. We can't take it, I'm afraid. We're all neutral.
Yeah, but you're not neutral though, mate. Are you recording? You're not neutral, mate, because you're listening to what the politicians and taking orders what the politicians are doing. So you cannot be neutral.
I don't take orders from politicians. I take orders from my sergeant and my inspector.
Yeah,
but at the moment, you've got to put your seatbelt on.
Yeah, I understand that, but the statutes and acts what you're enforcing on people are actually private laws, yeah, and require people's consent. And are put forward by the politicians in Parliament. They're not laws what are made through court, like the common laws, and the way the law is made.
Obviously, I'm not going to make any comment on those.
No, so you're pushing rather than, but you're pushing statutes and acts rather than actual laws.
Do as I'm telling you for a bit, all right? Obviously, jump down in there.
Is that an order?
And obviously,
orders generate bills.
Okay, we're requesting obviously if you don't, okay, then we have to enforce the law that you're clearly not agreeing with.
Mate, it's not a law, it's a statute and act. I have no contract with DVLA.
Listen to me.
I have no. This is a private. You're putting forward a private policy here of a private corporation.
That you have to obey it. Just
no, we don't have to. This is freedom of choice. We don't have to obey. I have no contract with you, mate.
If you choose not to, then obviously I have to, according to my duty, is prosecute you for not wearing a seatbelt.
Well, that requires my consent, mate. It does, mate. You know.
No, it doesn't. Do you want to?
I'm going to do it, but because I'm going to do it, we should have the seat down anyway. But whatever you do, mate, requires my consent when it comes to statutes and acts obligations. It's not the law.
Drop down there. Put your seatbelt on first. All right.
You know.
Keep up the good work, lads.
All right, cheers, mate.
There's knowing the difference between legal and lawful, and I don't think you do. I don't think you've not studied law.
Sit down there. Do you want to put your seatbelt on first?
You know.
That you sat on. I've got to do what? I've got to do my job.
Mate, no, you don't.
Your
job, what you're doing here now with statutes and acts requires people's consent. And you're only doing your job if I have understanding of that, and I don't stand on that.
By consent, and I know that, but obviously what we need to do
consent to the governed, and I don't consent to be governed.
Okay, you personally don't, fine, I respect
I don't, mate.
Obviously, do what I'm asking you now.
You know.
Put that seatbelt on first, all right?
Mate, you have no jurisdiction. No, you don't, mate. This is common law jurisdiction. This is England. Could you tell me what law? Could you tell me what law requires me?
To wear your seatbelt?
Yeah.
Okay, it's an offence against the Road Traffic Act 1988, not to wear your seatbelt, all right?
Yeah, it's an act, mate. It's not the law. Mate, that's not the law.
It's an act under
Do you know the difference between legal and lawful?
As far as
you're a policeman, mate. You should know the difference between legal and...
I can't stand here all day with you.
We haven't. Let's go.
No, let's not go without your seatbelt on. Sit down, put your seatbelt on, come on.
Mate, but you have no jurisdiction over me, mate. This is common law, yeah? No harm or loss. If you haven't seen me commit a crime, there's no complaint. It requires my consent, mate. It does, it requires my consent.
Okay, if you don't do it, I'll have to get you to come out there.
How can you, mate? I've not committed no crime. No one's broken the law.
Are you going to put your seatbelt on or not?
I'm going to put my seatbelt on, but I don't consent.
Okay,
it's under duress, mate.
All right. You don't have to put your seatbelt on. You can get out and walk.
6769.
6769.
Are you willing to swear under your full commercial liability and under penalty of perjury that you have proof of claim that I am obligated to have a seatbelt? Are you willing to swear a full affidavit?
Have you got a disability that excludes you from wearing it?
I don't need a disability.
If you haven't got a disability that excludes you from wearing it,
no, you're talking statutes and acts.
Do you want to put the seatbelt on first?
I'm putting it on.
You don't have to put it on, but you can walk.
It's under duress, mate.
Okay. Move the car on now, please.
All right, yeah, seatbelt first. Yeah, put the seatbelt on first.
And this is the thing, mate, you know. You really don't know the difference between legal and lawful.
Okay, lights are green, you got your seatbelt on, wonderful. Okay, guys.
There'll be some films coming up.
Off you go. No, thank you all the same. All right.
Drive off. Drive off. England is a common law jurisdiction. Those officers have no jurisdiction. This is a statute and act and requires your consent because it is a private law of a corporation. It isn't laws that were made in the courts of this country like the common law is made and laws are made. These are statutes and acts made by politicians to take your money from you and enslave you. The police don't know the difference between legal and lawful, unfortunately. and therefore trying to get everyone to contract for their private commercial gain.
This officer, he was actually a nice man. He was, and I think he was trying to be fair and balanced. He was, you know, his manners was top notch, you know, and I think he was really within his scope and knowledge. He was trying to be as reasonable as he could. He was actually quite patient with me, because I know sometimes I can get a bit of a kind of attitude in my tone of voice. On the whole, he was a good copper. He's a good copper. You can see that, yeah. He said here in the vid that yeah, he knows we police by consent, but I still have to abide by it.
We police by consent, and I know that. But we police by consent, and I know that.
So these are the kind of quirky little things where I believe he's kind of mixed up on, because he knows we're police by consent, but if you remove that consent, you still have to abide by it. It's, you know, you can't be police by consent, and if you don't consent, do you know what I mean? It's kind of common sense. But this is the kind of the programming. It's not putting him down as a man, you know, or a good policeman, you know, and it's really kind of not that he's corrupt or whatever. It's really about, I believe, his lack of due diligence. That's all, you know, in following up and looking at the law deeper rather than just look at the statutes and say that's it is. Where do statutes come from? Why are they allowed to be made? You know, the common law allows the government to make parliamentary statutes. You know, the common law allows that. And another thing he said, I don't follow politicians' orders. I take my orders from my sergeant and my inspector.
You cannot be neutral.
I don't take orders from politicians. I take orders from my sergeant and my inspector.
These police, they will just read up these statutes and go along, yeah, because they're following orders. And as the officer clearly says here, I don't follow orders from politicians. I follow orders from my sergeant and my inspector.
Just take orders from my sergeant and my inspector. Just take orders from my sergeant and my inspector.
And you know, he's telling you that he just follows orders. You see. And the problem we have with following orders is we've seen it, history repeats, and we've seen it time and time and time again. What happens when people just follow orders, yeah? And you go, oh, I was just following orders, this guy, oh, I was just following orders, the other guy, oh, I was just following orders, and they go up and up and up and up, and they get to the top, and he's like, oh, I was just ordering followers, you know? And the problem here, I believe, is by this guy just following the orders of his sergeant and inspector, what is he in fact doing? He is getting his truth from authority, rather than finding the authority in the truth, which is the way I kind of see things, you know. And if they kind of took a step back and go, hold on, you know, just because someone is in authority doesn't mean to say that their truth is absolute, you know, at all. It clearly doesn't. But we've been led to believe that because these people are, you know, in these positions of power, that they are then the be and end all of that, the information surrounding their power. And therefore, if you are not as high as them, you know, then they're in authority and you just go along. And it's not right, because this is why the country's going upside down and all these people are getting attacked by the police, and, you know, soldiers coming home from leave from the war, you know, getting attacked and seriously beaten up and assaulted by the police for crossing the road, you know, and then, oh, it was a mistaken identity, and give it a rest, you know. But this is because they're just following orders, yeah, and they find their truth in the authority. And I think it's about time, you know, they started to get that authority from the truth, because that's where real authority lies, in the truth. I gave him the perception that I was about to put my seatbelt on, but I didn't, because you know, I don't do them things when I'm, you know, when I'm not obligated to. Normally I put my seatbelt on in the car, yeah, but I was doing the megaphone in on there. But and you add that to the fact that he was a nice copper, like, you know, and like, so you in a bit of a guilt trip, should you kind of do it or not and whatever. Okay, I just wanted to get out of there, so I said drive off before I put the seatbelt on, you know, and I'll give the perception I was putting it on, and he's walked off. Like, a bit more due diligence, they look into it, they'll see the bigger picture and go, oh yeah, he's not obligated actually, it is a private law, and he does require our consent. Look into it, officers, don't take our word for it, look into it and you will see. So, until the next video, have a nice one.